Well, hey, everybody. This is Joe Licciardi coming to you live from Temecula, California, and hope you're all having a great week. And gosh, cannot believe it's Wednesday, and out here in Southern California, it's about ready to heat up. We're seeing next week in triple digits, up to 106, and I'm like, oh man, I need to get out of here and get over to Montana, but that's not happening until July. But anyways, hope you're having a great week. Josh, hey, thanks for joining us. I see you got your scrubbies on, and you're obviously either in between or getting ready to go in. So I appreciate you joining. Everyone who's on tonight. As my text that went out, it's going to be short, sweet, and I was kind of facetious talking about the secret, but to the success of your wholesale business. But truly, what I'm going to cover tonight, I've titled this whole message, and I've talked about it for so long. And I said, tonight I'm going to talk about this. And look, sometimes I like to sugarcoat things, and if I do that, sometimes the message could be missed. So I'm going to hit pretty straight on tonight, everybody, because I think it's such an important topic that I've looked back over my years of doing this business and realized that once I understood this, it made a dramatic difference in my business. So the title of today's message is it a hobby or is it a business? So, tonight I'll be sharing with you this extremely important topic that I think in the industry, many people really just don't seem to understand the importance of this. And here's what I realized, that if they don't grasp this early on in their starting their business, it truly becomes the death of their business, because our business has so much upside and so much life-changing potential that if you don't get this and apply it to your business, it will, let me repeat, it will fail. And so what am I talking about? Well, you've heard me say this before. I've said it many times, and I've said it different ways over the last 6 months. Is this a hobby or is this a business? Or are you treating this business like a hobby, or are you treating this like a business? You see, over the years, there's one thing I found to be consistent, and it has always been this way. It has never been wrong. And that is, whatever you take serious in life and focus on it, I mean, really focus 100% of your efforts, whatever it is that you're going after, it will come to fruition and you will win. And so, I mean, think about that statement. Whatever you focus on and take serious, it will come to fruition and you will win. Whatever, because that's just God's law, nature, and everything else in the universe is that whatever we put all of our intention and all of our focus in, it will come back to us however we want it to come to. So for a moment, let's do this. Okay, just everyone humor me for just a minute. Let's look at your life for a moment. Each one of you that are on this right now, I want you to follow me, that are on this call, I want you to follow me. For a moment, I want you to think about your educational background. It doesn't matter whether you have a high school diploma or a master's degree. Did it not take focus and a serious amount of effort to complete? Did it not? I'm sure it did. Whether it was just high school or all the way through MBA or doctor, whatever it is. You see, now, if you were like me, who did not take it serious, see, I was more interested in my motocross a career than school. I barely graduated. And because I did not take it serious, nor did I focus on it, and I treated it like a hobby, I most certainly did not finish at the top of my class. In fact, I'll never forget, in 11th grade, I was captain of the soccer team. I failed my geometry class. And because I failed, I wasn't going to be able to play soccer. My coach literally went to my teacher to change my grade. That's how I got by. I'm not boasting about that. My point is, I did not take that serious. And for those of us that are on this call right now that are married, think about this. Doesn't our marriage take a serious, consistent effort and focus to have a successful marriage? Of course it does. Like I said, anything that we focus on seriously, it will be successful. And, if we don't, especially men, if we don't take our marriage seriously and focus on it, a lot of things can happen, right? Am I right or am I right? So I tell you all this to say this. If you're not taking your wholesale business serious, or if you're treating it like a hobby, Well, like me, don't expect in high school, don't expect to finish at your class at the top of your class either. As well, don't expect this business to pay you like the multi-million-dollar business that it is. In fact, if you treat it like a hobby, listen closely, if you treat it like a hobby, you will lose money. I can assure you of that. You see, this is a business. And if you treat it like one and care for it like one and commit to it like one, it will reward you greatly. Many of you know that I was in the fitness business for, gosh, for almost 20, 25 years. And my wife and I own and operate everything from nutrition centers to personal training facilities to uh, to our own personal health clubs that were franchised. And we would spend on one of our bigger franchise clubs, we would spend up to $400,000 just to open up that club. $400,000. And that's a lot of money, right? That's a lot of commitment. Well, you see, because it was such a big investment, right? I had two choices to make. Am I going to make money from this, or am I going to lose money from this? Am I going to treat this like a hobby, or am I going to treat this like like an investment, or, like a business? Well, of course, my mindset was to treat it like a business that it was. And because I treated it that way, it rewarded me and my family greatly. And that's just a story about me treating my business like a business opportunity. Your Hülsa business is one that can do so much for you. There's so much potential, as I said, but the potential comes from whatever it is that you put into it, whatever time you put into it, whatever your mindset and how you put into it, how long you want to keep going into it, and how much effort and energy do you want to put into this. All those things will equate to what you'll get in return, right? So what I've done is I decided to grab 5 things that I felt were the most important of you coming to understand, are you treating your Hülsa business like a hobby, or are you treating it like a business? So what I want to do is I'm going to share 5 things, and you've heard each one of these 5 things. I've kind of twisted it up a little differently, but each one of these 5 things you've heard about. And the first thing we're going to start with, number 1, is, have you followed the first 48-hour video to a T? Have you watched it? Have you watched it consistently? Have you watched it over and over again? And have you done everything in it that it tells you to do? I'm not asking you to answer this yourself. I'm just letting you make a mental note of these things that I'm going to go over. Have you watched this 48-hour video? And talks about, of course, number 1, have you written out your why? Many of you that are on this call right now, I know what your why is. And some of them were enough to move me to tears. But have you all written out your whys? Why are you doing this? What is motivating you to do this business? Because look, there is an amount of sacrifice, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. There is a certain amount of sacrifice one has to give in order to be successful in this business. And that all stems from, why are you going to do it? The bigger your why, right? The bigger commitment you're going to have to make, and the bigger commitment you make, the bigger outcome, financial outcome that you will have from it, right? And along that first 48 hours video, have you written out your goals? And look, I know goals will come and go. You have to change, you have to adjust, and I get that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But number 1, have you written out your goals, and do you review them on a daily basis? Because see, it's that why that will push us when we don't want to do, and it's those goals that will motivate us to keep going. So your whys, your goals, and your vision board. Have you done a vision board? Have you done a vision board? But do you look at that vision board every single day? Are you looking at them and visualizing over and over whatever it is that you see in that board? I won't go into depth of, my vision board, because many of you heard my story over and over again. But let me tell you, man, it works. Whatever you think about most, you bring about. Whatever you think about, whatever you focus on the most, whatever you put your energy to, it will come back to you. I know it. It happens over and over and over. The little casitas that we built here for our winter stay, it was a thought. It was a thought that I was already thinking before it was even there. Our new coach, it was a thought. I didn't have it. I just thought, I'm going to start thinking about it. I'm going to start looking at them. I'm going to start visualizing them, and it happened. I'm talking about material things, yes, but anything you want in life, the more energy you put into it, the more you focus in on it, it will happen. So, your why, your goals, your vision board, are you reviewing them every day? Are you feeling the success that you deserve from everything that you want? Because see, writing down your goals, having a vision board, but if you don't put the feeling behind all those things, there's a disconnect from the universe. There truly is. So if it is, for me, it was the new coach. I thought, what is it going to be like to drive this coach, the 45 footer, whatever. I could feel and internalize that. And next thing you knew, it happened. It was a while, but it happened. So are you feeling, your success? Do each one of these steps that I just laid out are so important for you to keep you on the right path to growing in your business. Number two, and this one, besides what I just mentioned, is probably one of the most critical parts of your success. And I see more and more people just don't seem to do this. And I don't know why, but it's about, have you written down how many hours per week are you willing to commit to work in your Hülsa business? Have you literally written down, I'm going to work X amount of hours every single week? I don't care if it's 1 hour or 20 hours a week. Do you have it written down? Number one. Number two, are you staying true to this commitment? You see, this is something that has to be done, because when you commit to work in this business, right? Now, I know everybody has a career, everybody has a business, everybody on there, they have, this is more the B plan than it is the A plan, right? And until this B plan becomes your A plan, it's going to take a lot of sacrifice to how many hours that you're going to commit to it. So if you don't commit to work in this business so many hours a day, your business will never get to where it's supposed to go. So, I've always said that in fact, Jim Rohn's the one that says it, 8 to 5, 8 to 5 is working on your income, 5 to 9 is working on your fortunes. Are you working that extra time to work on your fortunes, right? So do you have it written down, and are you committing to working these number of hours per week? Here's a second key to your hour commitment. The number of hours that you have committed to, is it in alignment with your Hülsa or financial goals? Is it in alignment? For example, if you want to make an extra $10,000 a month in Hülsa, but only willing to put in a few hours per week, you're probably going to end up disappointing yourself and then quitting because you didn't reach your goals. You see, the hours you are willing to work Hülsa must be directly related to the hours, related to the amount of income you want to generate from this business. And if you don't know how to figure that out, we can talk about it, but you just must be realistic with how many hours that you're able to put in. So, let's just be real. The number one reason why you're all here right now is because you desire financial freedom. You desire that passive residual income, that one day you can walk away from your A plan. This becomes your A plan, and you could say whether you want to keep working or not, right? We're all doing this for the financial success of yes or yes. And so if you're all here because you're wanting to change your financial situation, then I suggest that you all need to pay attention to, are you treating your business like a hobby, or are you treating it like a business? And the time commitment is really, to me, is one of those signs of how you're actually treating this business, right? Okay, number three, and this is one that, it makes a lot of people just makes them shiver, right? And it's basically what it is how many calls are you making a day, right? How many calls are you making a day? I'm kind of old school, right? But this has been and will always be the staple of how successful your business will be. You see, I've heard it many times, and over the years, I've heard many times that, there's other ways to do it, right? And there is. I've seen it done before, but it's the very few that can do it, that can master it the other way, that other than making those phone calls. But here's what I will tell you. One of my personal friends, he's a great friend of the family. The guy we both take a bullet for each other. This guy, He's the #1 income earner in all network marketing today. Guy makes over $2 million a month. That's right. I said that right. I didn't, if you heard me, I said $2 million a month. This guy is a monster in the industry. Do you know how he made that money? And he's not just with one company. He's got, I bet it's at least 7 or 8 different companies that he's part of, and he's at the very top of the comp plan. Do you want to know how he's done it? Picking up the phone, picking up the phone, picking up the phone, day after day after day after day. There is no one in this industry that can out prospect him when it comes to making phone calls. So do phone calls work? Absolutely. Is it part of your business? Absolutely. Is it something you got to do? Absolutely. So how many calls are you consistently making a day? That's the question. Is it 1? Is it 5? Is it 10? Or is it more? Whatever that number is, right? I'm not going to set it for you. That's your choice. But whatever that number is, are you doing it consistently every day? Now, I know that everyone gets, we all get excited at the beginning of starting a new business because, we have all these dreams and these hopes, right? But the real challenge comes when you start getting those no's, right? When you start running out of people to call, and then what happens? Your confidence gets a little shaken because people are saying no to you, and you're not sure what you're going to do. Well, here's what I say: go make another call, 5 more people to prospect, and don't stop until you're starting to see the results you want to see that will take you where you want to go with your Hülsa business. And guess what? Once you get to where you want your Hülsa business to get there, don't stop. Keep making calls. Look, I wish, if I could have this magic number, if you make this many calls, Josh, Steven, or whoever else is on here, if you make this many calls over this period of time, you will become a multi-million-dollar income earner in this industry. But guess what? There is no magic formula. And yet I could assure you this, and this is for real. The only magic formula that I know is that if you don't make those prospecting calls every day, you will never succeed. It's kind of an oxymoron, but it's true, right? That's the formula. If you don't make those calls, you will never succeed at your business. So here's what I can tell you from experience, that my greatest success in this industry, over a 5-year period where I had made literally hundreds upon hundreds of calls. And from those calls, I personally sponsored in 136 people. That's a lot of people, right? But I kept making calls over those 5 years period. I could have stopped, but I wanted to keep building in depth, kept building in depth. And it was from those 136 directs that produced millions of passive residual income. So how many phone calls that are you going to need to make? Well, only you will know that number. You'll have to decide that on your own. Number 4, and this is something I've talked about before. I've never really gone into depth. Number 4 is follow up and follow through. As I just said, you've heard me say this many times, that the fortune is in the follow-up. And that is so true, everybody. Let me explain why that is. You see, many of us know, many of you know my story and my success in this business. And it all came from a friend of mine who, for 8 months, the guy wouldn't leave me alone. He kept pestering me over and over and over again for 8 months. And he wouldn't stop until I finally said yes. And I never thought about this until I was making my notes. I got to believe that even if I wouldn't have said yes on that 8th month, he would not have stopped pestering me until I would have said yes. But here's what I had never told anybody. You see, because he kept after me and he knew the fortune was in the follow-up. See, once he signed me up, and I don't say this to boast, but once he signed me up, his business took on a completely different life. Now, because it was a binary, of course, I became his greater leg. But because I built so deep in my business, his leadership check match made him millions upon millions of dollars because he knew the fortune was in the follow-up. Don't ever not follow up. And that's my next point on follow-up. You see, the other thing to keep in mind about the follow-up is this. If you're presenting this business to someone and you tell them that you will call them on a certain day or whatever the follow-up is, and you don't do it, you know that you have ruined your credibility with them based on the business. You have, because you see, if you don't follow up with somebody, they're going to think, well, it really wasn't that important to them anyway. And the same thing goes with sending out those samples, that if you're not following up with the recommended step-by-step emails to send out, you might as well not even send out that sample. You might as well just keep it. Because once again, whether you're handing it to them, whether you're sending it through the mail, if you're not doing the proper follow-up, and the Hülsa app tells you how to do it, if you're not doing the follow-up properly, you might as well just keep that in your pocket and not waste the money. Here's the rub of it all. If you're not properly following up, showing the importance of what you're showing them, then for what reason you think your prospect thinks that what you have to offer them is of any value? You see, if you're not properly following up, you're basically showing your prospect zero value to your business. You are. And you've heard me say this before, and I won't really get too in depth in it, but I had not properly followed up with somebody, and part of my business is to help spread the Hülsa word and go out there and try to find people and give them to the company, let the company do what they want with them, and then I keep working with them. But here's the bottom line is, I didn't follow up properly with one person, with this particular individual. And when I recognized that a week later, I felt horrible, called him up, said, let's do this over again, did it right, followed up. He ended up joining up as a founder with us, because I went back and did it right. If you do the proper follow-up, it's so important that you do it right, because the rewards are great. Okay? Number 5, and this is the final point. Showing up. Right. Showing up to what? Showing up to one of these. You see, we have this saying in network marketing, and it's so true, that you must show up to go up. And there's so much truth behind that statement. And I've seen it work in so many different ways. And I'm going to give you an example of someone personally that I know in my business that kept showing up, and one day they went up. You see, I had this one distributor who absolutely did nothing, and I mean nothing, for months. I mean, it had probably been at least 6 months, right? I mean, sure, they were on auto ship, and they came on with the right order, but they did nothing. And she did enroll one person. But here's what she did do. She kept using the product every single month. Every single month, kept using the product. So she was a believer of the product. She was on auto ship because she loved the product. And no matter what, this person attended every single event, whether it was a training call like this, or whether it was a company, like our Monday night company presentation, or whether it was a local event, or whether it was even a national event. This person, who did not enroll one person, kept showing up without fail. And then 6 months down the road, she went to a rather large local event, and then something clicked. I can't remember exactly what it was, because that was several years back, but it was something that she saw at the event that inspired her to the core. And I remember this person called me the next day and said, I'm going diamond. And of course, being her direct sponsor, I said, well, I was very supportive and encouraging of that statement. And of course, she wanted to go diamond, and let's go diamond. But what, in the back of my mind goes, well, she hasn't really sponsored one person, but whatever, we'll support her in any way. Well, let me tell you, this person went to work, and in 90 days, that's right, 90 days, this person went from 0 to diamond in 90 days. And not only did that person go to diamond, but what happened is they earned 2 different reward strips and earned $150,000 that year working part-time, because she kept showing up to go up. Now, the point is that person had not shown up every week or every event. If that person did not keep doing what they were doing, the story would have been a statistic instead of a story of inspiration, to show you what can be done by continually showing up. The other reason that showing up is so important to go up is that I believe this is 100% true, and I've seen it happen. I can't even tell you So when a brand, distributor, brand partner, they miss one event, that could be anything. Right now, most of our events are virtual, and of course, I'll be in Tulsa in a couple of weeks, but most of them have been virtual, right? And so if they miss that one training call or one opportunity meeting or whatever it is, right? They might think, well, it's not a big deal. I'll catch the next one, right? Well, here's what I find to be so true. You see, maybe they're missing the event because they had a bad day at work, or maybe a bad Hülsa day. Maybe they just got a bunch of no's and they're like, oh man, I just can't face this anymore. And they're feeling kind of low. Well, see, that's even more reason why you don't want to not miss whatever it is next, because you need your family, I can say your Hülsa family around you. You need to hear whatever the person is talking about, because maybe there's something in there that will click with you, that will take you out of that mindset and put you in a mindset of hope instead of a mindset of disbelief, right? Of not believing in what you're doing. So what I've seen is when a person misses one event, you said when the next one comes around, it becomes easier to miss that one too. And the next one comes around, and guess what? You miss that one too. And pretty soon, not only are you missing these events, but you've lost your motivation to do the business. You see, now because you're missing these events, you're not being inspired, you're not being motivated, you're not being fed. What happens is you become at the lowest point, right? You're at the lowest point that you've been. And here's what I see happens next. When a person goes through series of missing events, what happens is that the next thing that happens is the person is clicking off auto ship. And then all those dreams and all those goals and all those whys and all the vision boards and all the people that could potentially help go to the wayside. And then what happens, that person can get back into that rut again of what they were trying to get out of. And they get so caught up in it that 5-10 years down the road, they look back and say, oh my gosh, what happened? Where am I? So team, I tell you all these things and saying to you, it's not a fact. It is a fact. All these things are from pure experience in this industry. Each one of these 5 things that I've just gone over are real life stories of network marketing. You see, I've seen it all. I've heard it all. And that is why I don't really get surprised or even fazed when someone quits the business. Sure, it troubles me that someone has given up on the dreams and the very business that can take them to that place of financial freedom is getting pushed aside. But I cannot want change more than that person does for themselves. And look, as I said at the beginning of this, I'm not sugarcoating this, but I just want you each to realize that what we have here in Hülsa is truly something special. We're such at the beginning of this, and there's some things that we're going to be announcing here pretty soon that's really going to blow your mind. But we have so much potential here. Nobody here in the United States really knows anything about this business. No one knows anything about Hülsa, and we're still searching for those leaders who's going to go out there and wave that flag without stopping. I think back 15 years ago when I was waving that flag for that company, I waved it so loud that I made a lot of noise, right? And I took that flag from a small town here in Corona, California, and I took it around the world because I believed in my why. I believed in my goals. I believed in my vision board. I believed in everything. And I knew that if I did all the right things this time and treated this business like a business and not like a hobby, I was guaranteed to start making money. And you see, if you truly want to change, right, the change must come from within, not from within out in anybody else. I can't make that change for you. It's something that you have to do yourself. It must be such a burning desire that nothing else matters. And when I say nothing else matters, I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying. You must be willing to sacrifice. How much are you willing to sacrifice, Joe? How much are we to sacrifice? A lot. A lot. And I repeat my stories because I want everyone to hear it again and hear it again, to do what my wife and we have done. And anybody who's, remember that there's, of all the millionaires in the world today, 20% come from network marketing. They have all made the same commitment that my wife and I made, right? When we built these multi-million-dollar businesses, it wasn't easy. but we were willing to sacrifice certain things. We were willing to sacrifice for a season because we knew it was a season. Just like every business I started, I would literally work 24/7. Traditional business, my gym business, I worked 24/7, and I did it for a season. You see, it's like that clown that you see on the stage, right? They spin that one plate, right? And they get it going, right? Then they got to go to the second plate and they get that one going. Then they go to the third plate. And by the time they get to the third plate, the first one's starting to wobble and they go back there and wobble and get it going. And that's how it is in my traditional businesses, how I built multiple locations, the same way in network marketing. You're always spinning plates. But let's talk about sacrifice for a moment. You see, you must be willing to sacrifice your own personal private time, because chasing your dreams does not allow for you to have any downtime. You must sacrifice the things that, I sacrifice golf, I sacrifice riding motorcycles, I sacrifice even my exercise regime, I sacrifice, which I don't recommend because you want to be strong, healthy, and fit and everything else. And the older you get, especially my age, you got to stay in shape. So you must be willing to sacrifice your own personal private time. Number two, you must be willing to sacrifice the hours you put in. I know most of you have, you have jobs, businesses, or whatever. So it is a sacrifice, especially if you have a full-time job and you're working, the regular 8-9 hours, whatever it is. And Jim Rohn says the best, your 9 to 5 is you're working on your income. From 5 to 9, you're working on your fortunes. You must be able to realize that it's going to take a time sacrifice. But remember, it is only for a season. And yes, for a time, here's the third one. This is a tough one for many of us, and it was for me, and I had to still learn balance, is you must, if you have a family, you must be willing to sacrifice your family time. But again, it's only for a season, because what you need to do is, if you have a family, you must get their buy-in, meaning you must sit down with them, tell them what you're going to do over the next 6 months to 1 year. And if I do this right, and I sacrifice this time from my family, the rewards we'll have for our future. And it's not just about money, but it's about time freedom. It's about doing whatever you want. It's about not having to go to work anymore and punch a clock. It's about building that residual income. If you get it's about traveling the world. If you can get the buy-in from your family, right? The momentary sacrifices will far outweigh, right? The momentary sacrifices will far outweigh the greater rewards that will come down the road. So you must be willing to sacrifice your family time. And once again, it's only for a season. So I know I've covered a lot, and I kind of went through it kind of quick, but I think each one of those 5 points, right? Each one of those 5 points are very critical to this question that I started at the beginning of this. Are you treating your business like a hobby, or are you treating this like a business? Are you treating your host business like a hobby, or are you treating it like a business? Those 5 reasons that I just gave you, only you can look in the mirror and do a gut check and answer that. You're the only one that can come up with that. I can't. It's totally up to you. But each one of you need to understand what to do. And I just got a text. Someone signed up signed up in Hawaii. He's got they want to put a customer in. But anyways, you need to be able to answer that. You need to be saying, if you're making money, then you're probably treating it like a business. And if you're not making money, or not making money yet, then you need to understand, how are you actually treating this? Are you treating it like a hobby, or are you treating this like a business? At the end of the day, everybody, I hope you do, accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish. And through the Hülsa business, I truly hope that you treat it like a business, because if you do, it will reward you greatly for many, many, many years to come. And if you decide to treat it just as a hobby and just want to use the product, that's totally your prerogative. But at the end of the day, it's your choice, it's your dreams, it's your goals that you go after. Okay, everybody? Hey, we're halfway through this month almost. I hope you're all just doing whatever you want to do to increase your business. And at the same time, hope you're all having a great month. And like I said, it's going to get hot down here. Everybody else, I hope you're staying cool. This is Joe Licciardi. Thanks for joining, everybody. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed each one of you. Josh, hey man, good to see you, buddy. Glad you were on tonight. Jennifer, let's see who else we have on before I close out. Let's see, who else do we have on here? Let's see, side by side. let's see. No, that's not the view I want. Everybody hold on. Let's do it this way. And let's see. Who else do we have? We have Jeff. Hey, good seeing you. Robert. Hey, buddy. I'll see you in a bit. Dustin, Karen. Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight. We have Chris, Reggie. Thanks, Reggie. Michelle. Everybody, hey, great to have you on the call tonight. Remember, I think the 21st and 22nd, we will be in Tulsa. I say we, Jeff and I will be in Tulsa. Anybody in those areas, come down, send somebody there. We'll take care of them. God bless everybody. This is Joe Licciardi signing off from Temecula, California. Good night. See y'all. Bye-bye.
Good night.